So I just filmed my first YouTube video on why discs with the same mold fly different if they're made out of different plastics. And I didn't really answer the core question there. What I did is I showed you some of the different plastic materials that MVP uses for their Volt, and told you the flight numbers, and told you about my experiences in terms of throwing the disc and how they work for me when I throw them. What I didn't do is share why they actually fly differently if they're the exact same mold. So presumably if these discs are made in the same plastic mold, they're the exact same shape. So why would the material itself cause the disc to fly differently? Now, I haven't heard an answer to this question from anybody else, so really I'm just sharing my theory with you. As a person interested in science and engineering, and having a little bit of background in education in science and engineering, this is my theory. I think it's legitimate enough to satisfy my own curiosity, and I'm going to share it with you. So again, we're talking about specifically the MVP Volt, and we've got the Proton Volt and the Electron Volt. Same mold, different plastic. The Electron Volt flies much more flippy. It turns over for me. And the Proton Volt stays very stable when I throw it. Only difference is the plastic material that it's made out of. So let's get into the theory as to why I think this happens. So a disc golf disc is essentially an airfoil. It's like the wing of a plane, and when you throw it through the air molecules passing over the top of the disc have a greater velocity than the air molecules passing underneath the disc. And I'm not going to get into super detail here. You can look up everything you need to know about the Bernoulli effect and wings and airplanes and stuff like that. And that difference in velocity over the top of the disc and over the bottom of the disc results in a pressure differential as well. So the pressure on the top of the disc is less than the pressure on the bottom of the disc, and that's what creates the lift force and keeps the disc in the air or causes the disc to rise. Now, when you have a very stiff plastic, let's say we're working with the Proton Volt here, this stiff plastic will maintain its shape as it flies through the air, regardless of the lift forces and gravity forces and rotational forces that we're exerting on the plastic. Okay, so actually when you launch this disc out of your hand, there's going to be a lift force pulling up or pushing up, however you want to think of it, on the flight plate. Now, since the plastic is stiff, that upward force is not going to deform the flight plate at all, and this disc will remain stable. Now, if you use a more flexible plastic like the Electron or even the fission, what happens when you launch the disc out of your hand is you're going to get the same amount of lift force, assuming that the shape of the disc is the same and the speed that you've launched it with is the same. However, the more flexible plastic is going to deform under that lift force and actually kind of pull the flight plate up a little bit, essentially making it a little bit more domey as it flies through the air. And that little extra dominess will enhance the lift force. And because we're pushing up on a spinning object, that is going to cause the disc to flip over. And if you're not super familiar with disc golf terminology, look up another video on the difference between flip and fade for disc golf. So anyway, that's my theory as to why discs with different plastics fly differently, even though they have the same shape. Let me know if you agree with my theory, or if you want to present a different theory. Feel free to do so in the comments, or provide a link to another video. Thanks again for checking out Rick's Cool Things. Shop our eBay store, and have a good one.